In Karachi, one of the biggest cities in the world, something deadly is happening on the streets. The city's busiest roads, they've become scenes of tragedy over and over again, and one type of vehicle is almost always at the center of it. So, what is really going on? That's a powerful line, isn't it? But for the people of Karachi, it's not just words, it's a daily reality. This isn't about random accidents. It's a heartbreaking pattern that just keeps shattering families.
Because you have to ask, right? When the same kind of vehicle is involved time after time, you have to look deeper. This can't be a string of bad luck. There's a system at play here. Just think about that for a second. Grief becoming routine. A life ends in a flash, the city mourns, and then, just a few weeks later, it happens all over again. The pain is constant, and it raises a pretty serious question about who's to blame. And here's the official line you often hear. It's the victim's fault. The blame gets shifted to the people on motorcycles, calling them reckless for weaving through traffic. But if that's the whole story, it just doesn't add up.
And this is the part that makes you pause. If reckless motorcycle riding is the problem, why aren't these riders being hit by all kinds of vehicles? Why is it almost always the dumpers involved in these fatal crashes? And that question, well, it leads us to a really fascinating and disturbing comparison. To really understand the chaos of the dumper problem, we first need to look at another heavy vehicle on those same roads, one that tells a completely different story, a story of discipline and of safety. Now, think about fuel tankers. They're huge, they're carrying flammable stuff, and yet you almost never hear about them being in accidents. That kind of safety record doesn't happen by chance. It's created on purpose. The reason they're so safe is simple. There's a strict system. The private companies that own them put drivers through a serious vetting process. We're talking medical and psychological tests. They demand professional training. Their trucks are kept in top shape, fitted with modern speed controls and even emergency brakes. It's a culture of professionalism from top to bottom. Okay, now let's flip the coin. If the fuel tanker industry runs like a Swiss watch, the dumper industry is pretty much the exact opposite. It's defined by a complete and total lack of a real system. And this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? On one side, you've got discipline and clear policies. On the other side, chaos. Untrained drivers, who are often struggling with addiction, face no real oversight. Their vehicles don't have speed controls, and instead of a corporate safety policy, they have the so-called protection of a union. So let's dig into that a little more. Let's look at what this dumper culture really means on the street and why it's so incredibly dangerous for everybody else. Think about what that actually means. An untrained, unchecked driver, possibly intoxicated, behind the wheel of a machine that weighs tons and has no safety features. They aren't just a risk on the road, they are, as one source puts it, a moving embodiment of death. Which brings us to the obvious question. If the danger is so clear, why does this just keep happening, day after day? The answer is simple. These drivers are not acting alone. See, behind all this chaos is a powerful, organized group, a transport mafia. And this is not just some workers' union. It's a criminal enterprise that protects reckless drivers, pays off officials, intimidates anyone who might have seen something, and makes sure victims and their families never get justice. This mafia is holding the whole system hostage. Think about it. A dumper can kill a young person, and that exact same vehicle can be back on the road the very next day. The message is just chilling. In this system, a human life is worth less than a piece of machinery. But just pointing out the problem isn't enough. The source material also lays out a clear, actionable plan, a way to reclaim the roads and actually value human life again. So, what's the path forward? The plan has 6 key steps. None of them are revolutionary. In fact, they're the basics of what the fuel tanker companies already do. Mandatory training for all drivers, proper government checks and vehicle inspections, modern speed controls and stricter laws. And maybe most important of all, an awareness campaign that actually instills the value of every single human life. And here's the key. These steps aren't about a one-time crackdown. They're about building a real, lasting system of checks and balances. The goal is to create a culture where safety is the default, not the exception. So, as we wrap this up, it really all boils down to a clear choice. A choice between 2 completely different systems. And that's the ultimate takeaway here. The dumper on the road is just the tip of the iceberg. Below the surface is the system. And where that system is built on discipline and accountability, you get safety. But where it's built on negligence and corruption, you get tragedy. The vehicle is just the tool. The system is what always determines the outcome. Every single day on the roads of Karachi, these two outcomes are on full display. The quiet success of the disciplined fuel tankers and the loud, tragic failure of the mismanaged dumpers. The evidence is right there for everyone to see.
And that leaves us with a final, powerful question. This isn't about choosing a type of truck, it's about choosing a type of society. One that values order, accountability, and human life, or one that just allows chaos to rule. The choice really is that simple and that profound.